Today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now. Up first, a mother devastated after her son, a black man, was missing for months. After searching nonstop, she found out her son was killed by a Mississippi officer. Up first, here's Quan LX.
Charles, this story angers me and upsets me. In fact, it's almost unbelievable when you read the facts of this case. To see that this mother looked for 172 days for her missing son. She called police every other day, sometimes 2-3 times a day in the beginning of his disappearance. And when she kept calling the detective and calling the police chief, they told her they knew nothing about her child's whereabouts. They had no idea what happened to him. They would let her know if they ever found something, only later to learn that one of their comrades had ran him over and killed him. They took his body, labeled it as a pompous body with no family, and buried it in a shallow open grave for poor people who have no loved ones. This is a disgrace. It's shameful. The police chief should be fired. The entire department should be defunded, and the federal government should come in and take it over and bring in new officers, because this is Barney Fife policing, if not outright racist criminal cops, period. Ain't nowhere in the hell I believe they would have did a white woman's child like this.
Well, I think I would agree that, and I think the binary of this program, the hope is that I would scream and yell and say the police were fine, they did nothing wrong. But I don't think you can do that here. It's horrifying. It's very clear that they could easily ID him. He was a convicted felon, so they had their fingerprints, they had his palm prints. They didn't look to them. But I think the piece of information that bothered me the most was the fact that he had a pill bottle with his name on it, a prescription bottle, in his pocket when he was hit and killed. So clearly there is a conspiracy. Clearly there was an effort, because the coroner's office said they ID'd him right away. Clearly there was an effort to protect whatever officer was responsible for hitting him, wherever roadway or whatever happened. Clearly there was an effort to hide it from this mother. And every single person involved in that effort should be prosecuted both by the state of Mississippi and the federal government for violating this young man and this mother's, or this 37-year-old man and this mother's civil rights. However, I think a piece of the story that's not getting any attention. So it's sat in language so long because you had an older detective that didn't put any effort or actively sought to cover it up. And then he retired and a new detective got it. And that new detective almost instantaneously determined the identity and contacted the mother. And the fact that they made her pay $250 to get her kid's body is so repugnant. It's so disgusting. But I don't think it's fair when you had someone in that department who discovered the problem, and he's the one that identified that there were people probably seeking to cover this up. Of course, they're saying, oh, I didn't see here, no, nothing, which is just awful. But I don't think you can say, hey, let's defund police, because at the end of the day, you need paradigmatic change in American law enforcement, but you also need police. And the people that suffer the most at the hands of a defunded department or a prison abolition, which is just insane, are poor people of color who are being victimized by crime. They get victimized by law enforcement, they get victimized by criminals, and they sit there and they have no time and no justice. So we need law enforcement.
So federal oversight, Charles. Bring in the federal government, take it over.
You said fire them all.
Oh, yeah. And I said, that's what I said. I said, fire them all. Defund
even the guy that figured it out?
Let me say this. Let me talk about that.
Okay.
Fire them all, defund it, and the one cop that figured out, let him keep his job, put him on leave, and tell him to run for police chief of that department, because he might get it when it's given back to the state. But right now, that department must be investigated thoroughly, because I do not believe this is the first time this probably happened. Something of this magnitude that they've covered up. There needs to be a thorough third-party investigative agency to get involved with that department and see what else that they've covered up and needs to be uncovered. We cannot trust any of those cops to remain in that department and think that they're there to serve the best interests of the people. This is a disgrace. They treat that man like less than a damn dog.
So you're calling it racist, but it's
because if she was a white mother, they wouldn't have did nothing like that.
It's a very racially diverse police department. See, your assumption is, oh, it's racist, white people are responsible. That's your assumption in almost every scenario.
My position is if she was a white mother, with a white child, they would not have done her like that. And I would not care if the police chief was a handkerchief-head Negro. He wouldn't have did that white woman like that. They took advantage of this mother, mistreated this mother, abandoned her, treated her and her child like less than garbage.
I think they treated them, because I think when you, a lot of officers see someone that's a felon, and they discount their humanity. It's a problem with the war on drugs, right? Because they make regular Americans that have a personal weakness and they turn them into felons. And then a lot of law enforcement says, oh, he's a felon, who cares? And that's disgusting. And what they did to this woman was disgusting. And I will agree with you that there needs to be an investigation, and everyone that was involved needs to be prosecuted and imprisoned. I disagree with the notion that you're going to condemn an entire police department that is racially diverse.
Can you trust any of them to remain on force right now?
I can trust everyone that the investigation doesn't implicate.
And while that investigation takes place, leave them on the streets.
Okay, so you don't want to fire them.
No, I didn't say that. I said we cannot trust.
So you do want to fire?
Yes. While that investigation is ongoing, get rid of all of them. They need to be gone. But bring in the federal government, and I don't care if they're bringing a National Guard to be police officers. Bring in somebody, train them quickly, and get something done. Because right now, those not cops. Those are so incompetent, ignorant police officers, they should be disgraced to even wear the badge.
But see, this is your hyperbole. This is the problem in America. We went through this whole wave of defunding instead of fixing policing. And I've been arguing.
How you fix them?
I have been arguing for paradigmatic change in policing for 2.5 decades. It's the focus of my work at Harvard. It is something that needs to happen, and it's not. The timeline on it is way too slow. But what we're calling reform now is just defund and abandon. And what you're doing is you're abandoning law-abiding citizens, almost universally law-abiding citizens of color, who call 911 and no one answers the damn phone, who call, finally get a hold of the police, they show up 2 hours later. And what we need is better policing, not no policing.
I believe
and you're
there's
assuming
much
these are
more
whites, you're
that will be
assuming they're
uncovered
racist,
through an
and you're
investigation of this
assuming
department.
everyone was involved.
This department needs to be
But that's your
thoroughly
belief.
investigated,
Okay.
Charles.
But why
I cannot
fire
trust any of
everyone?
them.
Why not?
I don't trust any of them.
But why not?
Something of this magnitude to cover up something like this, and then here's the worst part that you brought up. Yeah, you can get his body. You got to give us $250 to exhume.
It's disgusting.
That's a damn shame.
It's disgusting. I think she'll get a big check.
And I'm going to say
point.
this. It's ironic you brought up, Harvard University and your presence there as a student. You know who Dr. Carter G. Woodson is? He's the founder of Black History.
Okay.
And Dr. Carter G. Woodson said Harvard ruined more good Negroes than bad whiskey. So I want to let you know that your Harvard education ain't going to fix them cops. They need to be fired,
I agree.
terminated,
I mean,
and
you look
done
at the
away
lunacy going on, all the support from Hamas going on to Harvard right now. I think there's some real problems with Harvard abandoning intellectual rigor in putting,
Oh, you mean the free thinkers at Harvard?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to get back to where we support Hamas, but we don't support law enforcement.
I didn't say that, bless
So
your
what
heart.
was your insinuation, Quanell?
I said Harvard need to be more open to free thinkers.
Harvard needs to stop letting people in that pay or that have legacies, and they need to focus on people that are tremendously academic. But at the end of the day,
a black slave's invention was used to found Harvard.
We need a system where cops are accountable, but they're present and they help communities.
Fire.
Floyd Mayweather says he supports Israel. The controversy straight ahead.
TGIF.
Jason Derulo is speaking out against sexual harassment claims.
See here before you, deeply offended.
Live and interactive.
I agree with Miss Hollywood in the chat. She says he's reading a teleprompter.
Listen, I know bad acting when I see it because I've done it. I'm deeply offended.
I'm gonna give you an Angela Bassett deeply offended. And I'm deeply offended.
Oh.
Come on, Oscar.
And I'm deeply offended.
Guilty.
On Fox Soul.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. You're black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
In our second round, U.S. boxing legend Floyd Mayweather says he supports Israel. And now the backlash from the black community. Here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Well, a lot of people are mad on social media about the unrestrained support for the victims of October 7th that was stated by the undefeated boxing champion Floyd Mayweather. His words were, "I stand with Israel against the Hamas terrorists. Hamas do not represent the people of Palestine, but are a terrorist group that are attacking innocent lives. I stand for all humans and wish for the safe return of all Americans and Israelis and any human that were kidnapped as hostages during these horrific war crimes." Now, he made this, and he also furthered, "I stand with Israel and Jews all around the world. I condemn anti-Semitism at all costs. I stand for peace. I stand for human rights. Terrorism is never the answer." And he is being met with horrifying attacks on social media. We mentioned, before we went to break, I referenced the awful videos where we're seeing Jewish students being attacked while they walk across campus, merely for being Jews, not for protesting in any way. I am very proud that the measure, in fact, Floyd offered to send, or did send, a plane with just aid, just humanitarian aid. And these comments come before the bombing campaign that I stridently disagree with, that has killed so many innocent Palestinian lives. But at the end of the day, the stories coming out of Hamas's behavior is just horrifying. And it was the predicate to this, and so many Americans are trying to contextualize or support Hamas when Hamas terrorizes its own people and terrorizes Israel, and I applaud Floyd Mayweather.
I think a lot of brothers and sisters who heard what Floyd had to say when he stood quickly to condemn Hamas's evil, the crimes they committed in Israel, those were crimes. But Floyd Mayweather was not as vocal as he was on behalf of Israelis in Israel from their attack during the Black Lives Matter movement here in America and the protest. Many of the advocates and those who were advocating for police reform, etc., in America heard Floyd say some things that were very unbecoming from him that was acceptable to the mass majority of black people who have suffered and witnessed police misconduct.
What were those things?
And those things, when he talked about that we were tearing and destroying and burning down buildings, and said the cops were really not responsible for certain conduct and behavior that we were protesting. Floyd Mayweather needs to be a little more well-informed and not ill-informed. Now, it's no secret that our brother has some challenges reading. And it's no secret that our brother is a brilliant, talented man.
Have you ever met Floyd?
Let me finish. It is no secret that our brother needs to be better informed than what he is. He needs to come out right now, just like he supported Israel and those terrorist attacks. He needs to support the mass killing and mass murder that's taking place in Palestine right now from Israeli bombs. If he wants to be consistent with the call for justice and peace, well, then Floyd should come out and say we want a ceasefire in Palestine. The same way he stood up and condemned the terrorism that killed 1,300 in Israel, stand up and condemn those in Israel who've killed over 8,000 people in Palestine. And dear brother Floyd, remember that 51% of those in Palestine are children from 13 and younger. So he should be just as vocal for those Palestinians who are suffering war crimes right now that the United Nations calls it a textbook act of genocide and war crimes. We love you, Floyd, but let's be consistent with your condemnation of bad behavior on both sides.
It doesn't sound like you love Floyd. In fact, it sounds like you're condemning his statement. And if you look at his statement, if you parse it, he absolutely was sticking up for the safety of innocents and Palestinians. He spoke in the wake of October 7th when so many people in America were applauding and cheering the butchering of women and children, right? He said, no, this is horrible, right? But we've had so many, let's talk about Harvard and other Ivy League schools and university campuses across this country of people cheering and saying that they're freedom fighters. The Hamas are freedom fighters, that Hamas is just fighting to end apartheid, that Hamas is the good guys, right? And the truth is that Hamas's leadership has already responded. No, we were just trying to kill Jews. And hey, you know what? We're going to keep killing Jews. And our whole goal is the eradication of Israel.
But
Hamas
do you realize
is an evil
that everybody in Palestine did not vote for Hamas?
You had a Palestinian.
Hamas did not win the election by overwhelming landslide.
But they haven't had an election in 13, 14
exactly,
years.
And there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands
of Palestinians. I agree, the bombing is horrible.
Who don't agree with Hamas.
We are talking about people condemning Floyd Mayweather for supporting the victims of October 7th and for supporting the
and
Israeli
not being just
citizens.
as vocal in support of those Palestinian children
why
that are
we
being murdered in mass numbers by the thousands from Israeli bombs in Palestine.
How do you know he's not sending humanitarian aid? What you know
I'm
is
not
through
saying
the
that.
prism.
I said vocal.
What you are
publicly
how do you
vocal.
know he's not being vocal?
Because we've yet to read that.
But
we've yet to read that.
At the end of the day, you're looking at everything through the prism of social media, and social media is condemning him for one reason. Anti-Semitism, because he is supporting the Jewish people victimized by October 7th. And you have so many people that are trying to, including the UN Secretary General, trying to contextualize Hamas. But the truth is, if you listen to the words of Hamas leadership just in the last week, they have said, no, this is about killing Jews and we're going to keep killing Jews, right? It is not about creating, so why, Quanell? Why isn't Hamas allowing Palestinians to flee? Why isn't Egypt? Egypt has said they're going to kill Palestinians and they try to.
Jordan refused to open the border.
But why not tell them to flee to the West Bank?
Do you realize?
Love everything that terrorists do, and you hate Jews because they're white.
Hypocrisy.
Okay, sure.
Because the original Falasha Hebrew Israelite Jews are not white; they are black. I love my Jewish brothers and sisters.
It all comes down to white people.
And I love any Jew that loves the Torah and loves the tenets and the books brought forth by Moses and Abraham. Okay. I love them. Charles, what I got a problem with.
You love the good Jews.
And I love the good Muslims, hate the bad Muslims.
Okay.
Charles, bottom line is,
so do you hate
bombing
Hamas?
On both sides.
Do you hate Hamas?
I hate the wickedness that they perform.
I
hate the wicked act that they did.
Okay.
And I hate them for what they've done to the Palestinian people.
Do you think it was justified?
It's wrong what they did.
Do you think that it was just somehow the right thing to do to fight apartheid? Because you've said that before.
In South Africa?
No, I'm talking about in Israel. You've supported Hamas before.
I support them fighting apartheid, yes.
Okay, so you support them killing women and children.
No, I support this. I support fighting apartheid the same way the Indians fought you white folks in America.
Floyd Mayweather, what a wonderful guy.
You support oppression as long as it ain't white oppression.
Okay.
Up next, an NBA player outed for having sex with another man.
What a disaster.
You're a disaster.
This is a disaster.
You can't be ready for every little disaster, but you can prepare for a big one. Make an emergency plan today.
Welcome inside the black box.
So you guys ready to have some fun?
Forget the acting studio. I'm here with you guys.
Creativity will find its way. It doesn't matter what the ethnicity is.
Television and movies are the mediums of stereotypes.
Just because we all have the same color don't mean we have the same experience.
Your uniqueness is your greatness.
Welcome inside the black box.
Every Monday on Fox Soul. TGIF.
Lil Wayne was not pleased with the reveal of his wax figure. He tweeted, "Sorry, Wax Museum, but that bleep ain't me."
Live and interactive.
Brittany T said, "That ain't Lil Weezy, that's Lil Asthma."
Hold on, Carla. You got to see what Poppy said. Hell, the wax figure looks cleaner and better than the real Lil Wayne.
Serving up all the tea.
You so messy, Q. You are.
Join the chat on Fox Soul.
Y'all don't make the comments. I just read them, honey.
Oh, God.
What do you think the most bougie state in the United States is?
Is this black bougie or white bougie? There's a difference.
McMillan and Morrow.
I'm not black bougie. I'm trying to be.
You're just bougie.
I'm just too poor.
Every Thursday.
Listen, if I had more money, I would be so bougie.
You black bougie adjacent. All your friends are black bougie.
Exactly.
On Fox Soul.
I'm in the same boat.
I'm living vicariously through them.
That ain't nobody business where I put my at. Y'all just weird.
NBA player Dwight Howard accused of being gay again. The messy lawsuit that sparked it all. Here's Quanell X.
So, Charles, a lot of people are talking about this lawsuit involving former NBA All-Star and legend Dwight Howard, who for years these rumors had circulated around our brother that he was potentially homosexual or bisexual living on the down low. And years he admitted that out of his own mouth he was not gay nor bisexual, and that he even made jokes about gays. Now we learn through this lawsuit that our brother has admitted that he had a threesome involving a man, a transgendered male, and to use his language, it's nobody's business where I put my ding-a-ling at. He said another word though. And so I would say to Brother Dwight, what you do in your bedroom is your private business, but unfortunately, Tu Wong Fu has outed you in a courtroom, so now it's the world's business. And I'm shocked that you would use language, dear brother, trying to make mockery of the gay community years ago, but all of a sudden you, a big old 7-foot secret hiding in the closet queen yourself. And so it's nobody's business where you put your ling at. Well, obviously where you say you've been putting it ain't where you really been putting it, and it looks like somebody been putting it to you. Go ahead.
Well, you're rushed to be homophobic. You've got some of the facts wrong. First of all, the woman, the person that presents as a woman, I don't know if they identify as a woman or a male, was not the one that outed him. In fact, it was a appearing as a male who he was having a conversation with online, and they decided to take it to the next level. And then Dwight Howard suggested that they have a threesome. What is alarming about this case has nothing to do with homosexuality, has nothing to do with bisexuality. I don't care how this grown-ass man decides to live his life. The concerning part is the allegation, which you didn't mention at all, of sexual assault. And that's what should concern us, is whether or not he was a sexual predator and raped this person. And this is not the first time. You know, when he was playing for the Rockets here in Houston, Dwight Howard was outed as allegedly having an inappropriate online relationship with, I think, a 14 or 15-year-old girl. And just recently it's been disclosed that it's alleged that he flew 3 17-year-olds from Texas to Florida for some sort of illicit encounter. And the problem is, while it's legal in Texas, the age of consent is 17, it's kind of a weird thing. The law isn't very clear. It's most certainly and very clearly 18 in Florida. So if he flew young women, old teenagers that aren't quite adult, across state lines for sexual purposes, it's a very serious criminal allegation.
But not according to him. It's nobody's business where he put it.
Okay, but I think the focus should be the allegation of sexual assault, the allegation he has had tons of children with tons of different women. I think I couldn't even find a clear number of the number of kids he has. He clearly has some sort of sexual disorder, whether he is a nymphomaniac, whether he is, and he's really got psychological problems. And I think you saw that through the course of his basketball career. I mean, this is a guy that had the physicality that surpassed Shaquille O'Neal.
Built like Adonis.
He was incredibly strong, incredibly muscular, but he just couldn't make it work. He just bounced around the league. Well, I don't think you can call him soft.
Oh, he was soft as
cotton. I think
cotton.
He wasn't focused on his
even
job.
Shaquille O'Neal.
I think there was a guy.
Even Shaquille O'Neal called him out for being soft as cotton and weak.
Most certainly, but Shaquille.
And when he was in Houston,
Shaquille's the best center
when
to
he
ever play
played
the
in
game.
Houston, when he played in Houston,
Yeah.
he was soft as cotton and weak.
Okay.
Now we know why he was soft as cotton and weak.
You think his bisexuality is why he's soft? You don't think gay men can be strong?
Let me say this now.
Because I mean, there are plenty of gay men that are
let
strong.
me say this. I bet you would know too.
Okay.
But now let me say this to you. Obviously, he just wasn't chasing the hole. He was riding the pole, too. So I'm very concerned about this closet queen, Dwight Howard, trying to hide now and pretend as though your past words about the gay community and about being gay don't come back to haunt you. And I don't like no brother, I don't care what your race is, acting like you a man to females, sleeping with a bunch of females, and while you're bedding and having sex with men at the same time. Why don't you come on out and tell the truth about who you are and stop putting them sisters at risk and women at risk while you're having sex with all kind of different men?
That's what discloses your homophobia, because your concern isn't at all Your concern isn't at all that he might have raped someone. Your concern isn't at all
That's
that,
for a court to decide.
Okay, so you don't care, but
That's
you don't
for a court to
mention it.
decide.
You don't care. You just, oh my God, he's a bisexual. Oh my God, he's gay.
That's for a court to decide.
Oh, he's soft.
We know
he's not
for
a man.
fact that he's messed around with men.
Okay.
We know for a fact he's had gay encounters, but we don't know for a fact that he's guilty of sexual assault.
Okay, but who cares? If he's not guilty of sexual assault as alleged, if he's not guilty of having inappropriate and illegal relationships with young females, not at the age of consent, then why do you care? Why isn't he right? Because that's
I didn't bring up the young females. I didn't bring up the sexual assault.
I know you did.
Because
that's
those are
crazy.
allegations
you're just
that
worried
are not
about
factual.
him being gay.
They're not factual.
Oh my God.
Those are allegations that are not factual.
Might be on the down low. Let me call him a whole bunch of names.
You're wrong.
Hey,
you're wrong.
Why? How many slurs have you used? How many slurs have you used?
On the down low.
How many?
Well, you said might be on the down low.
So
he's so low, he on his knees. So look, let me tell you something. And who knows what he's doing down there. So look, I got a problem with this closet queen, Dwight Howard.
If he's not a rapist, he's not a pedophile, why do you care?
Because he condemned the gay community in past
statements. So he's a hypocrite.
And now
but you condemn the gay community all the damn time. You're literally condemning the gay community right now.
No, I'm calling Dwight Howard out for what it is.
You're calling Dwight Howard a slur for homosexuality.
No, I didn't say one slur.
You called him soft because he was gay.
Soft as cotton.
Oh, you don't think calling somebody Tu Wong Fu is a slur? Calling someone a queen is a slur?
You didn't see the movie?
I did see the movie.
Tu Wong Fu. Thank you, Julie Newmar.
But I most certainly saw the movie.
I know you did watch that movie.
I know you watched it apparently too.
I bet you watched it.
But, you know, at the end of the day...
Where your wig at, Charles? You got that wig in the closet, Charles? You probably got some red bottoms too,
like
don't
it's
you?
insulting
BS,
to be
man.
gay.
I call it like I see it.
But the truth is...
I call it like I see it.
If he's not a rapist, he's not a pedophile, who cares?
And I'm not going to bring that up.
Who cares?
I'll let the court decide that.
I know, because you're too busy...
I'll let the court decide that.
You're too busy being a homophobe. So do you think
the word phobia means a fear of?
Do you think a
I don't
gay
have a fear of
man
gay people,
can be a strong professional
but I got a
athlete?
problem with a brother on the down low sleeping with multiple numbers of women and lying to them about his sexuality.
Do you think a gay man can be a strong athlete?
Oh no, there are a lot of strong athletes that are gay.
Right.
They can go in there and bench press 500-600 pounds on a bench bar.
Okay.
And then go home and get bench pressed themselves.
So why are you calling him soft as cotton? If you're recognizing
weak as wet bread.
Okay, weak as wet.
Weak as wet bread.
Is that all gay men?
No, that's just Dwight Howard.
Oh, just Dwight Howard, right?
Soft as cotton, weak as wet bread.
What you take away from the story of a horrifying alleged rape is, oh my God, Dwight's gay.
No proof of that.
Let me say
I'm not going to bring that up.
Let me be a homophobe here.
No proof of that.
Oh, well, there's no actual proof. Did you see him? I mean, have you seen Dwight be in a gay relationship?
He admitted he wanted to have a threesome.
Come on.
He admitted.
This is just another story.
To threesome.
Another story.
He admitted to the threesome.
Story so you can be a homophobe. All right, at the end of the day, none of us should care who is gay, who is bisexual, who is straight. I don't like the word cisgendered because that seems like a slur towards not gay people. At the end, you know, what we should care about is whether or not Dwight Howard actually raped another man. What we should care about if Dwight Howard's a predator that targets teenage women under the age of consent. This story out of Mississippi is heartbreaking, but what we saw from Quadell is a typical rhetoric that condemns everyone and has led to the inability for many people of color. And the Oakland NAACP has outcried and said we need law enforcement because the people that are victimized the most by defunding the police and abolishing prisons and these incredible far-left nonsense policies of victim abandonment are people of color. What we need instead to do is hold everyone that was involved to account and put them in prison. Because anyone that was involved in hiding the fact that this poor woman's son was killed deserves it, right? Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather gave a very measured statement where he said, hey, I support the victims of the aggression in Israel, but I also support Palestinians. I applaud Floyd for his humanitarian aid. What a wonderful American.
The bell rung. Your white privilege ended. It's my turn. Look, Floyd Mayweather, brother, let me say this to you. You're right, Hamas committed a crime. What they did was a crime against humanity and evil, and against the Quran and against what Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us to do as Muslims. But be more consistent. Condemn the atrocities and the evil on both sides, and I think you won't have a problem if you do that, and that's what should be done. Let us all call out the wrong on both sides. To the mother in Mississippi, we cannot allow you to suffer by yourself, suffer alone, and we cannot say that we have to accept bad police officers because we're afraid if we defund the police, we'll have no police. Well, guess what? As Charles said, the number one people suffering the most for the lack of police resource of police presence, police activity is people of color, yes, and crime too, people of color. But the people suffering the most from police misconduct, abuse, and corruption, also still people of color. To Dwight Howard, I got a problem with brothers like you, man. I love your brother, but I'm sorry. You can't be out there sleeping with a whole bunch of sisters, a whole bunch of women, and sleeping with men at the same time and lying about it. Be honest with those women you're sleeping with and let them make the choice if they want to still do that with you.